Hey, I'm Eric Haugen. Check the description box below for tabs and backing tracks on my website, information about exactly what sound tools I'm using today, and all the links. If I look at the Billboard charts for the last century, big band, swing, Dixieland, show tunes, stuff that was jazz or jazz adjacent dominated the charts up until about Elvis Presley in the 50s. So the takeaway from that is that jazz is actually pop music, or used to be pop music. So that means we should feel as comfortable talking about it as we would talking about the Beatles and the Stones, Pixies and Nirvana, Taylor Swift and Rihanna. That it's just music. We're allowed to talk about it even if we're rockers. But then, of course, that means we come to the question of, well, all right, though, what exactly do I mean when I say jazz, or what makes something jazzy? So, I looked at a lot of the stuff I know about Miles Davis and Charlie Parker and Coltrane, but also Rodgers and Hammerstein, Duke Ellington, like all the stuff that I'm like, okay, this is what we call jazz, right? This is jazz. What is that? What makes that jazzy? And so the first thing, seventh chords, and not just dominant seventh chords, minor sevens, major sevens, and yes, the minor seven flat five. Like knowing how those work, how they work in a key, and how to apply them. I think that to me is the way in. That's the first thing that makes something jazzy. Here, let's look at this little turn from Wes Montgomery's 4 on 6. Right, that's a nice little turn, a B flat major 7, there's our G minor 7 chromatically up, and then this, actually the Hendrix chord, a D7 sharp 9. Right, cool jazzy change. Those seventh chords aren't an accident. It has to do with the notes that are in that key. And with rock music, we're used to it mostly stays as triads. Jazz is well, we can still take those notes and stack more notes to them. And yeah, I'm going to talk about that more next week, exactly how that works. But yeah, let's also, okay, so there was Wes. And then, I played that Steely Dan thing at the opening. Yeah, that's a very jazzy turnaround in what essentially the rest of the song is just like a shuffle. Very simple with a really spicy turn. Cool thing. So, the second thing that makes something jazzy, jazz adjacent, or jazz influenced, I would say key changes and other trickery, because jazz stuff is playing with a bigger box of crayons than we're used to. That also means that they're freer to be like, well, you thought I was in this key. Yeah, but now I'm going to go over to this key and come back around. Here, let's look at this little piece of Blue Bossa. Starts in C minor. Back. Neat, right? That's a super cool key change from C minor. It turns around, and then it goes up to what's ultimately D flat major. Yeah, and that's not an accident that, that's a major 7 chord there. But similarly, Motown, Supremes, You Keep Me Hanging On. That has similar jazzy key changes in it. Like the verse is... Right, there's our verse, which is kind of actually G minor with a major chord as the 1. I get it. They just wanted to make it... Here, I'll play it again. But then the verse section... Yeah, so the verse, or sorry, the chorus, which the song starts on the chorus, is in, I actually consider it G minor with a major one, doing all these, again, this is all tabbed out. And then, yeah, shifting for our verse into what's really the key of B flat, Mixolydian. So, and that makes sense, honestly, that Motown is so jazz influenced because Motown is essentially pop music played by jazzers. Motown is great, and that's another thing to notice. The third thing that I think qualifies something as jazzy or jazz adjacent would be longer structures. We're used to with rock music, stuff is often kind of like a there's four chords for my verse, and then here's four chords for the chorus. Actually, to be fair, Wonderwall actually has a really lovely pre-chorus, and actually, Wonderwall is a great song, but it's a funny example of simplicity. So, like, for example, let's look at my favorite things. Long, beautiful verse structure here. Beautiful, like long verse to that, right? Great structure there. Similarly, though, Bowie's got some really great long structures too. Let's look at the verse of changes. See, nice E minor 7 in there, and then this very jazzy part. I'll stop there. So, for me, I think one of the points I'm trying to make today is as we look at jazz, that we're going to look at things that maybe we wouldn't have thought of as jazz, because I'm like, you know what? You don't have to study pretty things and advanced, intricate, eloquent things. We don't have to do all the things you are or other jazz standards. There's so much stuff that we've been listening to our whole life that's so heavily influenced by jazz that, like, let's just go there. Let's look at Bowie, Motown, Billy Joel, Elton John. Like, it's in soundtrack music. It's all around us, and it actually always has been. Like, it's not just bebop and hard bop and cool jazz. Neat stuff for sure. And yeah, you could start there and go there. But again, this is jazz for rockers, so I'm trying to find the smoothest entryway for us. Notice I have not discussed jazz improv. I don't actually think that's the best way in. It's really cool. It's also really complicated. And so in terms of effort to payoff, the amount of work, this guitar is going to neck drop, the amount of work that it takes to get good at jazz improv, I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of practice. It's a lot of practice. I'm not even good at it. It's one of those things that I remember I had to make a call about it. I was like, oh man, I could sit here and work on this for hours a day for years of my life. Do I care enough to get to do that? Do I really want that bad? And I made the call for myself, and the answer was no. I like some of the licks. I'm going to grab some stuff and absorb it. We'll be talking about that. But I do love the chords. I do love the composition. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be looking at those seventh chords. That's the first thing. Because really getting those, well, that only helps everything else you do. And if you do want to go into, the deep end of jazz improv, those chords are going to tell you what's going on with what you're supposed to be playing or how to play the changes. So I'm like, yeah, let's make sure we understand seventh chords, minor sevens, dominant seven, major sevens, minor seven, flat fives. I think that's the way in. And we don't have to use jazz standards. We can use whatever we want because, man, there's so much stuff that's so heavily influenced by jazz that, yeah, we can do that. So that's all we got for this week. Thanks so much to everybody who supports me in all the ways that you do. Let me run down how it works, how I stay in business. If you enjoy these videos, like, subscribe, and share on Facebook, Reddit, other external apps. That all helps the algorithm know that, hey, people are enjoying this content. So it will recommend more people to watch the content, which then generates website traffic. And let's run down the website. Here's how my website works. You can book one-on-one private lessons with me to either talk about guitar or just talk about musical life goals. I love talking about that stuff. I make courses in partnership with the folks at Truefire.com. The Caged one is the bestseller. Again, it's a pretty comprehensive view of how everything connects across the fretboard. And there's special VIP live streams available for patrons, as well as there's some free stuff I put up on Patreon. So those are kind of the three revenue streams that keep me afloat and keep the lights on. As Bill and Ted would say, be excellent to each other. That includes yourself. Happy Friday. Eat pizza.